Hi everyone. I was hoping to do this live, but the technicalities are ridiculous. I have to wait 24 hours before I can do that, so another time. Instead, we're just gonna do this like any normal video and edit it. Alright, we're in the house. I wanted to show you the peppers and whatnots that are overwintering. This is the lantana. This is the Thai basil. I put my Venus flytrap here in case any fungus gnats come a-knocking. I'm germinating some lettuce because the outdoors, it's a little too cold for them outside, I think, so I'm going to start them inside. And this is the other pepper. All right, let's go outside. So this is a garden tour slash to-do list video. We're in the garage now, and while we're here, I want to remind you to sharpen your tools. And if you have anything broken or need a new one, put that on your wish list for the holidays. Get yourself some gift cards from your friends and family. We also have the figs that I brought in. These are two different varieties. I don't have that on hand. So this one, leaves are still upright, but yellowing. And then this one, leaves are still green, but wilting. I've watered both, so it's not so much a watering issue. All right, what else? Lots of places have sales right now for your, not necessarily soil, but certain garden supplies, so stack up on those. I will be. Okay, let's walk over here. So we've had a full week of freezing nights, but the days are still in the 50s, and next week looks like it's going to be more temperate fall weather again, not so much freezing nights. But regardless, we had plenty of stuff that we left out, particularly tomatoes. So any tomatoes that might have been left out are going to the chickens. While we're here, we've got loads of leaves that we're going to be piling up for the kids to jump in, and then eventually crushing up and putting into our leaf pile. We're also gonna clean up some of our weeds here. The corn. I never really got around to harvesting the corn. I just didn't want to, basically. So some of the corn I'm basically leaving for the chickens. And they came out really nice. You see that? In the light, can't tell. This is one of the popcorn. It's really pretty. And they're perfectly fine just sitting out here as long as there's no bugs eating them. You just let them dry and, and the mold doesn't get to them. And let them dry and either crack them for the chickens or save seeds for next year. The strawberry beds and asparagus have been doing really well. The strawberries still producing plenty of fruit left. The ferns of the asparagus are still relatively green, so it's going to be a while before they die back, and I can mulch all this up. One of these days we'll go through and identify some of the trees and bushes that we decided to put up. And let's go to the Comfrey and sting nettle. Now I've harvested from these several times over the summer, and I put them in the compost tea and just keep trimming it back. cosmos are done. They did not fare well in the cold. So is the Malabar spinach. Nice and wilty. That is done. Well, let's go in there. So we had the ground cherries down here. Those fizzled out in a couple of cold nights we had in September. They started to go. I really need to clean this out because there's a lot of fruit that fell on the ground, and they seed very easily. And so if I don't want just a mountain of these guys next year, I gotta clean them out as best as I can now. And I plan on taking down the whole fence anyway and restructuring. Bunching onions, doing just fine in this weather. Now this is an experiment. It's kind of silly because I did it a little too late in the season, but we do have some spinach popping up. Can you even see that? And I threw lettuce. I see some lettuce sprouts coming up as well. And it's like a constant battle with, oh look, a slug eating the seeds and whatever. So that's why it's really hard for me to, see, that one got destroyed. It's really hard for me to start things outside because of slugs. There's the spinach, a couple are coming up, so that's good. So I just keep this to keep the temperature a little bit warmer. This, I can take this off, we don't need this anymore. Something has gotten to the leeks. They are like ridiculously being trampled or chewed up or whatever. I mean, I'm pretty sure they're hardy enough to survive and keep growing, but it's just not pleasant. This lettuce is doing really well. It's so tiny though. But that's what happens. Growth slows down at this time. And the Swiss chard I put in, also slow growing. I really put them in very late in the season to really expect much growth from them. Sorrel is hanging on, so that's good. And I put in some red sorrel in this, and they're popping up. And then we got leftover tomatoes that either I'm going to feed to the chickens, or I'm really going to make an effort to make fried green tomatoes, and we've got plenty of those. Yummy. I'm going to leave this thyme here. I'm going to mulch heavily around to see if I can insulate this container really well. And I'll see if I can overwinter this plant. All right, what's next? So before it snows, be mindful of where your gear are for if you're doing any winter sowing projects or germinating seeds indoors. Make sure you can get to your containers. Over here we have broom corn that I'm pretty sure is good to harvest now. Just haven't gotten to it. And the flaxseed I never got to. I mean, I took a couple of them out, but the majority just ended up back in the dirt. I don't know if they'll come back on their own if they completely die out. I don't really see. Like, that's an immature one that's not gonna make it through the winter. No, here's one. So here's a flaxseed. Where's my hand? Flaxseed bulb, and there's several seeds. Lost one. Yeah, I lost one. Oops. Well, there would be several seeds in there. So I'll save that. We've got our pile of wood chopped up, and that's an ongoing process. We've already gone through a stack of this in the month of October alone. My husband got me a nice pile of browns and greens there. Oh, I really got to pick my remaining winter squashes. And then some of the beans I'm just leaving on the pod to dry out by themselves and saving the seeds. And some of these are still perfectly edible. So this plant is a very resilient plant, whichever this one was. I also got to take in my Luffa. They are starting to brown, which is great. It's probably from because they were cold, but that means they'll ripen a lot sooner inside. The nasturtium has been hardy through those freezing nights. So over here, I'll eventually turn this into a cold frame, but that's for another day. Marigolds are really resilient in this cold. Still throwing off some beautiful colors. Now here we go. I gotta pick that up because if it snows, they'll be all buried and useless to me. More Malabar that need to be cleaned out. They're all dead. The carrots, I've learned my lesson. Look at this. Look at the potential. Can you see that? Where is it? The potential of how big this carrot could be. And this one. And that one. That one looks really big because they're spaced really well. I think I put these in August and then I dropped more seeds in September. So these may or may not yield much. But you can keep these in the ground till you get super hard frost and the ground is frozen. Then it'll be harder to dig them out. I had left an onion bulb in there and it started to grow back, but then it started to wilt. I threw in some more onion seeds in here. I had put beet seeds in here and they started to come up and then something mowed them down. So I threw some onion seeds just to see if I can actually grow them through the winter outdoors. I doubt it, but who knows. Chard, Swiss chard does really well outside. This is a makeshift protection for peas that I threw in there. And they haven't suffered much from the frosts. They look good. They're not gonna bear any actual peas, but you can still eat the greens. I don't know what's attacking the leeks. They just look so pathetic. So the celery is doing really well. I cover them up at night to keep them from freezing, and they're doing nicely. They haven't shown any damage, and I'm hoping to overwinter them, mulch this heavily, and hope that they make it through the freeze, maybe. Now over here we have the compost pile. It's gonna get a lot of compost soon with us cleaning up some of the beds, but it's not getting nearly as much as it normally would because we're sharing a lot of our scraps with the chickens. Morning Glory is done. This nasturtium is done. Some of the rhubarb is still pretty strong, and some of it is not. This is my leaf mold. I'm looking forward to filling this up. This is John Sue bioreactor idea. There's holes all down the pipe. And the idea is that it'll aerate this pile from the inside versus it being just stagnant in there. So I like the idea. I wasn't going to go all out like some of the videos show to do. So that's my version. Over here we have the main corn that I grew. And I liked the corn, it was sweet and everything, but I just didn't like the texture. It was the type that stuck in to your teeth. But so it's going to the chickens. And it grew some really nice corn. I mean, not as many as it would have if I had a better situation with the dirt here, but it is what it is. Now, I didn't know until yesterday that calendula is a cold weather flower or plant. So they are doing really well. Lots of flowers and new flowers. That's exciting. The spinach, we've eaten some out of that. And I got new spinach growing. I have excess greenhouse plastic that I can use to protect it better so that I can ensure good harvest. Kale obviously is fine. Any main holy ones and suffering from powdery mildew go to the chickens. I think this is pak choy. It's bolting. How ridiculous is that? The bok choy doing good. The bok choy has a smoother leaf pattern. The pak choy is a little denser, and the tatsoi is even more dense. But look how beautiful these are. Super green, super abundant. This is stevia that went to flower, and I was just leaving it to die, but it's still green. That's going to the chickens too. Now this is a work in progress. Been working on this for a couple of weeks now. It'll serve as a seedling area, but mainly it's for the chickens. It's the chicken run. I want them to make soil, healthy soil in there. Haven't figured out the door yet, so it's just a slit. But so far it's nice and warm, and the chickens have already roughed up, gotten their dust bathing in. But I look forward to that. And you can look forward to that video coming out soon. Here's our blueberry patch. Make sure you tag it so that you don't mow it over or whatnot in the wintertime. Oh, IBC totes or any water collection containers you may have, make sure you empty it. Otherwise, your water might freeze and expand and bust your hardware. Also, keep the inlet closed so that critters don't go climbing in there. I'm choosing to feed the wild birds through the winter. There was a study that said that wasn't a good idea, which I kind of get it, but it wasn't a very convincing study. The gooseberry is out. I decided not to overwinter it. I got moldy mildew, and I just plan on making fried green tomatoes with these. I think this will be a great candidate. Over here we have plenty more asparagus ferns, still green. The okra, planted too late, did not produce, but I'm excited to be trying that next year. I think it's going to do really well. This was a potato spud that I left in the ground, and it started to come up, but it's frozen now, so that's not going to do anything for the rest of the cold weather. So over here is the remnants of our bell pepper container. I am composting in place here, leaving this here. This was just for fun. Check out that video next week on overwintering peppers. Over here we have more corn that I didn't harvest. These did really well here. I don't think did I release a video on this, but I just threw alpaca manure in there for next year. Same thing for where I had the melons. I alpaca manured and covered back up with the black supposedly, well, to keep weed seeds from growing up, and it should warm up sooner come summertime because the black will absorb some extra heat. This was just a patch where I threw some wild flower seeds, so a bunch of stuff came up. Some tomato seeded itself here. There was a bachelor button that came up, and not really sure what else is in there. All right, we're nearing the end. We are down to tomato row, which is now garlic patch. I have currently mulched this with leaves and mowed up leaves and grass. So that's a nice mix of browns and greens. The yarrow, which didn't flower this year, maybe will flower next year, but it's very green and healthy. I have a lot of work to do as far as pulling up tomatoes. The borage, I know, can overwinter. They're really hardy. I obviously overplanted the tomatillos, and I didn't do anything with them, so I will be rethinking this next year. This is more lemon basil. I mean, it's already flowered, but the greens are still, healthy. They didn't get freezer burned. And then over here, which was the first round of garlic, this is also mulch with the chopped up leaves and grass, but where'd they go? I always get worried when I don't see what's underneath the earth. But yay, lucky, we got garlic. I'm very happy. I know that we're gonna have garlic next year. I picked this up earlier. I had forgotten that this was over there by where the melons were. This was a pickling cucumber that I grew over there. This is the only fruit that came out of it. That's for the chickens. And we're back full circle. I think, okay, other than make sure you also empty out your hoses and your hose lines. You don't want to lose those. And your drip irrigation, if you have those, lucky you. I think I've talked about everything that I needed to point out to myself and hopefully help you guys remember things. And yeah, stay tuned for those videos coming up. The overwintering peppers and making of the hoop house. All right, I'll talk to you all soon. Bye.